Welcome back, Nerglings. Today we are talking Munda. But before we start, be sure to like, share and subscribe so you don't miss an update. Necromunda first launched in 1995 as a spin-off from a previous game by Games Workshop to popularise a set of rules for small skirmishes in a Hive world setting. It was called Confrontation and was published in White Dwarf between 1990 and 1991. This first foray into the Underhive made no reference to houses specifically, instead concentrating on various types of gangs: armoured spire warriors, brat posers from the upper levels, low-life scum, undercity mutants, diseased scavengers from the toxic wastes, and the Arbite enforcers, ever ready to deal swift, violent justice. It's worth noting that whilst you aren't here to learn about that there modern stuff, Necromunda was relaunched in 2017, and I grudgingly admit it has some superb miniatures that accompany it. Not only are the current plethora of gangs extremely good value for money, but the characters and personalities available from Forge World are of next level quality. As you might expect, Necromunda is predominantly a 28mm system, although in its time it has gone through the customary 25mm of confrontation to the mighty heroic scale of the 90s, and now who knows what bloody scale it is. Though, to be fair, anything from 1:72 scale vehicles to 30mm plus characters from other systems wouldn't look at all out of place in the setting. The terrain you get in the new box is pretty good, but what we are really talking about is card and lovely old school plastic bulkheads. Lovely stuff. Of course, it's all interchangeable, and any good enthusiast, such as yourselves, could make good with a few Pringles cans, any amount of laser cut MDF, some rolls of wire mesh, and an old car inverter. Alternatively, the mad scientist amidst you might just go dumpster diving and turn old trash into scenery. I'm looking at you, Curtis. It really is that versatile. Basically, anything you can make look like a heavily polluted underground industrial wasteland is perfect. In short, Necromunda is about family. Well, if your family is a band of bloodthirsty mutants out for revenge against the normies, or a family of muscle-bound warriors in BSDM gear. But seriously, it's about violent gang warfare amongst the cluttered backdrop of a decaying industrial city, from which you can draw parallels with dozens of post-apocalyptic settings, such as Violence Jack, Fist of the North Star, 2000 AD, Robocop, The Omega Man, Escape from New York, and Mad Max, to name but a few obvious ones. In game terms, Necromunda somewhat toes the line between skirmish battle and RPG, in that your gangers suffer the long-term effects of wounds and gain the benefits of victory deep in the Hive. Confrontation, meanwhile, had a more complex system for resolving combat, particularly range attacks, which were similar in style to Laserburn, a game that, in turn, influenced Warhammer 40,000. Now, the professionals amongst you will diligently model and paint any grievous wounds received in battle on your miniatures, replacing limbs with bionics and hands with mechanical claws, as you should, for there is no room for standardized monopose nonsense here. This is a world where each and every miniature should have a name, backstory, vices, and skills unique to them. The original and obviously superior miniatures for the game were designed by that sterling gent, John Blanche, whilst the new ones are now sculpted via committee by an unrecognizable mass of digital sculptors. It's worth noting that Necromunda is infamous for several nefarious dome runners, bandits, and smugglers, the most famous of whom must surely be the bounty hunter Cal Jericho, who has been the subject of numerous novels. Founded 15,000 years ago as a mining and manufacturing colony in Segmentum Solar, Necromunda was once the capital of the Arrhenius Continuity, a small empire of humans ruled by techno-nobility until their surrender during the Great Crusade. In the 30th millennium, the planet briefly defied the ever-expanding Imperium. The resulting devastation wrought upon the world by the Space Marines left it a blasted wasteland. Its surface turned to rocky ash and ever-shifting sands, routinely frozen by bitter nights, open to spatial temperatures, and scorched during the day by its multiple suns. The megacities, or hives, rose from the ash wastes to provide protection from the unbearable temperatures of the world's surface. The resulting vast conurbations are amongst the most dangerous places in all the galaxy. Necromunda is a world of mines, factories, refineries, and processing plants. The planet is a vast powerhouse of industry, making millions of different items for use throughout nearby planetary systems. Nothing that can contribute to the planet's output has been left untouched. From the tops of the highest mountains to the depth of the roiling sulfur oceans, the natural wealth of Necromunda has been plundered. Mountains have been reduced to rubble for the ore they contain, and oceans have been turned into little more than chemical sludge. The once fertile plains have disappeared under huge urban developments of great housing and factory blocks, forming new ranges of man-made mountains. Between the hives, industrial ash deserts cover the surface. Over this desert lies a cloud layer of airborne pollution, so that the great spires of the city rise from the tainted vapour like islands from the sea. Despite being reduced to such a hellish state, Necromunda is still a valuable world to the Imperium. It is a major producer of manpower, munitions, and weaponry for the Imperial Guard. Necromunda's forges produce autoguns, bolt guns, lasguns, and shotguns, among other weapons. And the planet also levies vast numbers of troops for the Imperial Guard, most notably the Necromundan Spiders. Recruitment drives routinely provide thousands upon thousands of keen would-be guardsmen and women. The rewards for service being a life outside of Necromunda, increased status in the Hive if they return, and, more importantly, the opportunity to learn the skills to survive in this dark millennium. Indeed, many criminals and convicts would rather sign their lives away in service to the Imperial Guard than be worked to death in the depths of the Hive. Necromunda's population has increased well beyond the planet's capacity to support it. Consequently, it is wholly reliant on synthetic and imported food. Each hive has recycling plants that convert used organic matter into synthetic food. Real food is imported from off-planet, but is an expensive luxury which only the most wealthy and prestigious Necromundans can afford. There are probably more people on Necromunda than have ever lived in the entire history of Terra up until the end of the second millennium. An attempted census of Trasia Hive 4,000 years ago revealed an estimated population of 1 billion in the upper habitation levels alone. No further attempt has been made to count Necromunda's population. Hives are much the same as any city, each with their own character and foibles. Their spires rise miles into the atmosphere, where they have docks for visiting dignitaries, traders of note, and the richest of the imperial elite. Secured by the keen eye of the Arbite enforcers, implacable officers of the law, inquisitors hunting wretched souls, and the personal bodyguards of anyone important enough. The planet's capital is Hive Primus, also known as the Palatine, one of Necromunda's many hive cities. The hive, the largest on Necromunda, is enormous in size, reaching from the surface to some 10 miles into the air, and from surface level to roughly 2.8 miles into the ground, although only the first 1.3 miles are habitable by humans, and possesses a population greater than some worlds. Hive Primus and the planet as a whole is ruled over by Lord Gerontius Helmore of House Helmore. The caste system across Necromunda is impenetrable. To a lucky few, it means a lifelong ticket to the depravity and luxury of the spires. To the rest, a life amongst the scum of the Underhive awaits them. There is little chance of moving between the levels of the caste without fighting for it. Indeed, a perpetual war between the largest houses and would-be usurpers is underway. Gangs fight for turf, control over the supply of drugs and trafficked individuals, access between the levels, lucrative bounties, or, if high, mad, or rich enough, simply for the fun of it. Whilst some maps of the Hive detail the sections owned by various houses, they are inaccurate and dangerously unspecific, for areas can change hands multiple times in a solar cycle, or have no real owner at all, despite claims and edicts to the contrary. Loosely, the spire is the home of the rich elite, some who may descend into the Hive for sport as deadly spirers, clad in the most durable armour and wielding incredibly dangerous weapons. They are the bane of all those they happen across, and are rightly feared and hated by the denizens of the Underhive. It is not unheard of for gangs to put aside long rivalries for the opportunity to take down one of the pompous hierarchy. The Hive City, made up of the central columns, markets, industrial zones, and living areas, are home to billions of individuals. The Hive City is controlled by the largest gangs, the Goliath, Escher, Cawdor, Delaque, Redemptionists, Orlocks, and Van Saar. There is much that separates these disparate factions. They each look drastically different, wield varying weaponry, and have differing goals. Suffice to say, there is little chance of any one gang growing large or powerful enough to dominate the Hive fully. Bloody feuds and perpetual recruitment from the Hive's youth perpetuate the fighting. Below the main quarters, the Underhive houses the vast waste treatment plants, the most dangerous chemical industries, and massive, endless penitentiaries holding hundreds of thousands of the criminally insane. It is here that many of the poorer gangs, such as the Scabbies, find themselves. Would-be up-and-comers, down-and-out traders, or just lowlifes hiding from the law. However, even here in the depths, there is little chance of escaping the Emperor's justice. Teams of heavily armed officers routinely venture to the Underhive to find fugitives. Deeper still lies the Sump, a quagmire of untreated sewage, towering support structures surrounded by deep crevasses, and maintenance tunnels hundreds of leagues long. Autonomous contraptions, servitors, and highly paid and protected industrial workers work these areas as required. The Sump is for all intents and purposes considered uninhabitable, although those desperate or warped enough may make their way down to these depths. Strange creatures, the souls of the dead, and horrific monsters stalk the darkness. Aimless zombies shamble through the dimly lit corridors, unsure of their way or reasoning why. And on that cheery note, I'll call a halt to this video. I hope you enjoyed venturing into the Underhive with me, and you learned a bit about this much-loved game. Be sure to drop a comment and a sub below, and I'll catch you on the next one.